Just over a decade ago, when Mike Trout fully burst onto the scene, it was immediately obvious that we were witnessing one of the greatest starts to a career in the history of the sport.
Mike Trout with another spectacular grab!
And as those elite-level seasons kept piling up, it became reasonable to pose the question, is Mike Trout going to end up the greatest player we've ever seen?
Gone! 12-0 Angels, and congratulations on the cycle!
For a while, it looked like it could be yes. Not definitively, unequivocally yes, but he was certainly putting himself squarely in the conversation, and was doing so without some of the more obvious drawbacks that other candidates for the baseball GOAT have on their resume. PED accusations for Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth playing before integration, to name a few. And when I say that Trout was off to an all-time great start, I'm not exaggerating. You can make the case pretty easily that through at least his age 27 season, he had put together the greatest start to a career post-integration.
Walk-off game winner, Mike Trout!
As you can see in the graphic, through his age 27 season, Trout was basically the best player the sport had seen in the better part of a century, with an argument for being on pace to be the greatest player of all time. Trout is the only player in baseball history to accumulate 275 homers and 200 stolen bases through his age 27 season. And in fact, he's the only player to even hit 250 and 200. In modern baseball history, Trout's 176 OPS plus through his age 27 season was the 7th best, and the only player to debut since integration ahead of him is Frank Thomas. What's happened since then is a slow descent down the mountaintop.
Biggest thing for Trout has been staying healthy.
Trout is currently in his age 32 season, and he just hit the injured list again. Basically, no matter what happens for the rest of this season, he's likely to be no better than 6th, and much more likely to be 7th on the list through his age 32 campaign, behind A-Rod, Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Albert Pujols, and Barry Bonds. There is, of course, no shame in being the 7th greatest player since the game was integrated just under 80 years ago. But when most of your 20s were spent pondering the question, is this the greatest player? The 6th or 7th greatest can, and does, seem almost underwhelming. Mike Trout performed like an inner circle Hall of Fame player for a decade, but just 2+ seasons into his 30s, it's clear he isn't maintaining that level of performance. Consider this. Among all position players since integration, Trout ranked tied for 138th in wins above replacement across his age 30 to 31 seasons at 9.1. For comparison's sake, Willie Mays accumulated 19.1 B-WAR across his age 30 to 31 seasons, Barry Bonds 17.2, Jackie Robinson 16.7, the list goes on. Stepping back and taking a bird's eye view of Trout's career, according to Baseball Reference, Trout currently ranks 32nd all-time among position players in WAR. Here's what Trout needs to achieve to throw himself into various top whatever conversations. At his current rate, he has basically no shot of being in the top 15 and may face an uphill battle to make it into the top 20 all-time, given that he's accumulated just 12.7 wins above replacement over the 4-season stretch from 2020 to 23. He needs more than that total to get into the top 20, which means he needs to be more productive from his age 32 season on than he was during the back end of his prime. The idea of Trout accumulating 25 more wins above replacement and passing Mel Ott to get into the top 15 feels damn near impossible at this moment in 2024.
That was sound, sealed, and delivered a long way.
Even Trout's brief resurgence in 2024, before he hit the injured list, he ended April with a share of the MLB lead in home runs and as many stolen bases as he had across the entire 2020, 21, 22, and 23 seasons combined, is as concerning as it is encouraging, at least if we're viewing it through the lens of the question of, is he back on track to being what we thought he was going to be? Trout's current 2024 OPS of 867 and OPS plus of 142 are much, much closer to his down 2023 than they are to his MVP winning peak. Not to mention, his current batting average and on-base percentage would both be the lowest such marks of his career, and his average exit velocity would be his second worst. But even if we aren't seeing a true renaissance, we're still talking about one of the greatest players in recent baseball history. And if he does indeed end up as only the 28th or the 25th or the 19th best player of all time, that's still pretty cool to have witnessed. But when he spent the first decade of his career tracking alongside the absolute giants of the sport's entire history, it's okay to feel like the back half, fresh off news of yet another injury, has almost been a letdown.